You know, you have that reward where, okay, instead of shooting a lap, if you could take me to see a lap, 100 tourists to see a lap at $600 a shot, that money adds up. And you're going to sell that lap for $1,000, that lap gone. So I think there's something like that that, you know, I remember we had talked about that lots before we even were legally. We were just chatting and talking and throwing out ideas and stuff like that. And so there were two things that were twofold in our minds. One was conservation, and the other one that the community should benefit from this, but in a positive way and not in a negative way, as some of us were benefiting from it. And that's how we came about forming this group.
Now our group get involved in the Coal watershed, as we adopted the Coal watershed because the amount of fires and the amount of bushfires that were happening is affecting the reef, the Colodon reef, and even the Buku reef, the amount of silt that was getting on the reef. So we start doing like cleanups and educational program within the community.
My group here is the Santa Rosa First Peoples Community Group. I am the supervisor / liaison officer for the Santa Rosa group and the liaison officer between Santa Rosa and the reforestation program. When the program started, and we were asked if we were interested, and people knowing that we, the people of the First Nation communities, are very close to the environment.
Our group was fostered out of our Whitehead-based community program back in 2010. We was inspired as youth by a very inspirational tutor by the name of Miss Gray Counter. When she came into the village, she saw such a rich culture and ecotourism that we were just sitting on and nobody wasn't gaining nothing out of it. And she said she's not going to leave her foot out of this village unless she do something and see something happen, because it will really hurt her a lot. And she demanded us to form the group back then.
We are engaged in reforesting areas that has been, over the years, have been burnt by fire, and part of this area was once the farm, the government farm, and that is Waterfield, and that area was cleared because of cattle and so on. And so we are replanting this area, and this is in the foothills of the Aripo range, the Aripo mountain, and it's a very important watershed area. By our planting of trees and keeping the mountainside in that the water, the rainfall and the water coming from the mountain will be filtered better, and so we'll get purer water down in this.
We are actually at the end of the watershed. We are situated between a lot of major rivers. We have the Matura River, we have the Fishing Pond River that is actually directly on the prohibited area where turtle nest from March to August every night. And then we have a lot of estuaries that comes down on the beachfront. This area is so important because not just the turtle that nests here, that is a sanctuary or haven for them nesting, but it's also the Windbelt Reserve that protect the whole community from hurricane and storm and so on. So now we have seen the importance in protecting this Windbelt Reserve, and we are putting back a lot of buffer trees to take that strong winds that come in, to protect the community by extension, and to take care of the amount of water that'll be run off and going constantly and directly to the beach.
Where Brasso village is located, we have 3 major watersheds that comes off the northern range on the northern side. We started off as a ecotourism group, a tourism action committee group, and then we basically started off doing ecotourism. And now we have branched out into agrotourism, which is another facet of who TAC is. And we are doing the value-added product in both coffee and cacao. The reforestation aspect was added on into the group at a later date. And that has come basically as a mainstay in our group because it also employs about 45 people, 15 from Brasso Seco, another 15 from Mon Lacon, I think about 15 from blanchishes.
I am working as a laborer on the National Reforestation Program. Working time 7 to 12. Sometimes it might be around the community. Sometimes it might be miles in the forest. But basically we do hiking trails, clean hiking trails.
Well, actually we have two big rivers, and both of them join together at the where they have the Data Gandhi Center, which we call Two Head, where two rivers meet together. That's how they come up with the name Two Head. Right now we have a lot of youths that is dropped out from school at the age of 14, 15, and just on the streets doing nothing. So you're trying to get them away from that lifestyle and try them into getting something that they can develop themselves to be better people. We possess the highest mountain peak in Trinidad and Tobago, which we do tours. People come from all over the country to do tours as well, both weekends and sometimes during the week. We have one of the largest caves, which is the Soho Cave. We is recorded to have the largest colony of oil birds nested in that cave as well too. Then we have like the one of the largest watercress field in Trinidad and Tobago. We only have two watercress fields, one in Guanapo and one in Aripo. We have the largest one, and we do tours through that as well also.
Well, our group is one that is trying to educate the people in the community about bushfires.
Although it might be miles, sometimes we might go to the beach, like 8 miles to go into the beach, just doing trails. And I guess sometimes it might be challenging when it has weather like this, rain. Because sometimes when you go there, you're coming back home 6 o'clock and them kind of hours.
Well, boy, I don't know. Like to me, whenever you have anybody to volunteer to do anything for a watershed, the first thing they're talking about is finance and dollars.
Yes. They don't look at the benefits, how beneficial it will be to the community, but they look at how beneficial it will be to the individual.
What we're seeing is that people are benefiting from the group, but still they're not motivated to join the group.
So, if we could get more people involved with the group, it will be easier on the people that in the group right now.
I would say the major challenge was fire, because people using the Aripo main road would just set bushfire like that, and a lot of people go into rivers and so on. And we have encountered also within the farm area there was some wild cows which run havoc among our plants. They would butt down the plants, trample them, butt down the stakes.
We plant, with all these things planted up, and we get this pond. Because goats and sheep, all this, about 20 goats and sheep come naturally and eat our plants and things.
I would see agriculture, definitely. And with agriculture comes a lot of different things. Agriculture comes chemicals, a lot of different types of chemicals, and those are basically in the headwaters of these watersheds. So that's a very critical thing, because once you're in the headwaters, then you're going to kill out all organisms that's in those rivers that emanate from the watershed. So some of the challenges we face is getting people off, even though some people actually inherited that from their parents or grandparents.
The noise pollution is causing a havoc in our area.
Yes.
You know?
Because all 10, 11 in the night, people still playing hard music, big music box by the recreation places. And that to the community members is not a nice thing.
We were exposed to how to do fire breaks from Takuma when he was working with Forestry Division, and they were doing, around the Northern Range. So that knowledge of how to do a fire break, how to patrol the dry season, how to mobilize people, how to gear yourself properly. Sometimes you see a saltfish wood and feel, boy, something to cut, something to beat fire with. not knowing, you know, it's pickers, you know, and so on, and still cutting, young still cutting trees, and you hold on to this thing, and you realize, you know. So eventually we learned the names and so on, and we did a dendrology course here at Fonsuman. So all these things helped us to really understand our natural environment.
The education is overwhelming in terms of they understanding the day-to-day species of when different trees flower and fruit, what type of animal species that partake of that, when they see signs of if this tree is a good fruiting tree to take plants from, seeds from.
I have learned patience. I have learned to be a patient man.
November coming will be 10 years that we have been planting back areas in that has been under forest fires. It has not only, we have trees that are now almost ready to bear fruits like the pomerac and some of the other species that we have placed in, but it has given so much to the community because Matura was once an area that was charcoal industry. Every tree for someone that was mature and ripe was seen as something black in a bag, coals. But today we have changed from that, and a lot of the charcoal burners are now employed on this reforestation program, and they are now actually understanding the value of the trees that they play in our day-to-day life by providing oxygen. It's important for our watershed management, providing water for us.
Because of our fire trees on the southern end and the one adjacent to the road, which is on the eastern end, the fire was unable to cross into the area we planted and to cause any damage as such. So I think we have done a lot there, and I think because of the fact that we have a lot of workers here from Aripo and from Arima, but the danger is more Aripo. I think the workers from here, when they speak at home and they speak in their communities, the people respect it more, because you find that it's the young people, on their way up, they might light fire and things. Not putting all the blame to them. There are people who come from the outside and goes to the river and thing, and they call it kicks out of that. And but I think that we has caused a big change.
Fonsuman Community Reforestation Project, is it making a difference in Trinidad, around the world, Fonsuman? I would say yes. Of course we are. Of course we are. And, you know, sometimes like you yourself can't really, you know, you look in the mirror and you see, but like you just see this all the time. And then when you get, you know, appreciation from outside, you hear people comment about Fonsuman, you hear them, you know, you see them just praising you and appreciating you. It's really nice. And one testimony of that is a documentary that we did, Earth, Water, Woman. And right now it is showing in the US, got accepted in a lot of US film festivals and so on. The Bridgewater State University professor is really pushing it and looking at women in forestry, looking at community forestry, looking at watershed management, looking at water ecology conservation. So she extracted a lot of information from Fonsuman and is using that as a tool for teaching, you know, in the Caribbean and outside of the Caribbean, what we are doing.
In this area, there are material whereby people can, what we call, have a sustainable living. For example, there are a lot of material where people could make handicraft like baskets and other things that they can make like handles, cutlass handles, different seeds that they could make, necklaces and so on. We would like to be more involved in handicraft.
You could involve people in a whole lot of activities in related to Aripo sub-farmers, and we will be able to make a better impact on the education system at present and people's knowledge in general about Aripo sub-farmers if we have a memorandum of understanding which does not limit us to specific activities to a permit. Yes.
I would like to see a bit more protection, even though some of these reserve forest is protected. We are not seeing a regular officers coming up here making themselves seen, and so that people will be gaining a little bit more respect and realizing, wait, this is not a jokey thing, you know. So I think that will help in terms of getting people to become much more aware when they see forestry officers on a regular basis coming up, checking this, checking that.
Well, Marley and Asha and Donna, we need to make them aware, because this is our watershed, and remember, our watershed is the ecosystem for not only in Cora, but for outside of Cora, and for that matter for Trinidad and Tobago. So we need them to be aware. Even if we have to put up signage, even we have to call meetings and talk about it, but at the end of the day, we need them to be aware.
I think at the end of the day, we have to include stipends in that. What do you all think?
I agree.
Yeah, I agree, because you still need
you know,
a piece of bake to come to work. So even if you volunteer, you can't volunteer in a hungry belly.